Hey, Raindrops. Welcome back to Reality Crime Stories. Courtney Parker and I are back to give y'all the reality. Hey, Courtney.
Hey, Carlos. This is a good one today. Good
I'm
one today.
so looking forward to it because, look, reality crime stories, yes, our primary focus will always be reality stars or anybody in the unscripted realm, which is why today's episode, we're going to dive into the financial crimes, allegedly, that have been going on in the Wendy Williams case. So, Courtney and I are breaking that down today because so much has materialized in the past couple of days. And we also have an expert legal attorney who's going to join us later in the episode to discuss this. So let us get right into it, Raindrops. When it comes to the guardianship of our beloved talk show legend, Wendy Williams, her story is a scandal that may lie beneath the surface in the financial structures that quietly stripped a multimillionaire of
Right,
her autonomy. Right, Courtney?
right,
So,
right.
in this episode, Courtney and I are going to break down how she lost control of her bank account, in addition to being somebody, well, she talked about this on TMZ, where she talked about her son, allegedly, we like to use that word here to protect
Mhm.
everybody, how her son allegedly was using her money and her cards from Wells Fargo without her knowledge. She did say that. But recent development has occurred where her ex-husband, Kevin Hunter, has emerged with a jaw-dropping $250 million federal lawsuit. His claim is that Wendy is being held captive by, in his words, not ours, a corrupt conservatorship machine designed to profit off of her downfall. In this lawsuit, Wendy has said publicly that she doesn't know what's going on. A lot of people are questioning whether Kevin's fighting for her freedom or fighting for his fortune. Is that right, Courtney?
That's correct. And that's what makes this particular case so bizarre. We've seen something like this play out with Britney Spears. And to see it happen to our beloved Wendy Williams, who literally built this career alongside her husband, her ex husband, but she built this career. She always talked about working since she was like a teenager to build the empire that we all knew and loved to what it was. So, the reason why I was so interested in tackling this is not only because I had a personal relationship and closeness to Wendy and her brand, but also to talk about financial protections as well as predatory control. And I think the expert that we have, Chris Brown, not the singer, Chris Brown, but the attorney, Chris Brown, who specializes in estates, who specializes in celebrity. He's a celebrity attorney, but his specialty is making sure that everything to the letter of the law is followed. But more importantly, he has an acute lens of all things finances. So that's why I really wanted to bring him on, as well as he is closely connected to attorneys and people connected to this particular case.
Well, listen, the man who needs no further introduction. So let's bring on Chris Brown, who can, in our words, answer the $250 million question. Ladies, gentlemen, gays and days, raindrops, please bring on a warm welcome to attorney Chris Brown.
Good evening. Good
Hey,
evening. How you
Chris.
doing? How you
Hey,
doing, Courtney?
Chris,
How are you guys?
we're wonderful. Now we
Good.
know that this is a unique case. And we're one of the reasons why we really kind of wanted you to speak to it is because you've dealt with so many cases that deal with people losing their empires. Now, in Wendy's case, it's unique and it's special. You've been on both sides. You fought for people to retain and to maintain their empires that they built, but you've also been on the opposite end to where you've had to take people's empires that were built, and because of the predatory crimes that have been committed and people not getting their money and being paid properly, you've had to crumble some empires. So can you talk to us specifically about what crimes are committed, and what Wendy may be looking at with respect to what's going on with Wendy Williams, this guardianship? Educate us, please.
Well, in this particular case, again, there's so much going on here, and we only know what's happening now for the first time with this new lawsuit that had been filed by Mr. Hunter. And from my read of it, it's explosive. The material contained in it, it's a 20 plus count complaint, from everything from constitutional violations to state law violations, to defamation, you name it, it's in here. Violations of fiduciary duty, contract. It is a hodgepodge of events that, frankly, I've never seen before. It's a civil RICO case in which the plaintiffs are suing judges, law firms, accountants, claiming they are all doing this together. I've never seen anything like it. Frankly, I can't wait to see how this thing plays out. From a guardianship that started with a financial advisor making a claim, subsequently leading to an appointment of a guardian without a bond, which is kind of odd. Granted, it does happen, and it may happen more often than people think. But this is a $80+ million individual. To give a guardian this kind of access without having a bond posted just seems odd. And then when you also look at all the different things in this complaint, from judges conspiring with law firms allegedly to conspiring with accountants, I've never seen anything like this. So I look forward to monitoring this case, seeing how this thing plays out. But there's so much here. And this is beyond the actual guardianship when you really look at this case, because this is Mr. Hunter filing it as the next friend of Wendy Williams. And she already has a guardian. She already has someone that's been appointed to file claims on her behalf. So this is very, very different, unique. There's alleged violations of a marital separation agreement. There's a lot going on.
We're losing your audio, Chris. The audio's going in and out. But I think what we're gathering is the fact that you said this lawsuit has so many counts that you're shocked by what Kevin Hunter is alleging. I do want to read a few things that he is alleging in this lawsuit. So the lawsuit is against Wendy Williams' legal guardian, Sabrina Maurici, who was appointed by New York judge Wells Fargo Bank, who flagged that Williams may be in trouble in 2022. We all know about that. Kevin Hunter is suing in federal court. If he tried to sue in state court, they dismissed it. But because he's going to federal, the judge and the guardian cannot seal it. So the fact that they're unable to seal it is because I'm assuming Kevin wants everybody to understand the information that is in this lawsuit, because he does want the world to know, I'm assuming and alleging, he wants the world to know how his ex-wife is being treated. Some of the things that he is alleging in this lawsuit is the fact that he wants to be able to, he's alleging that Williams has been over-medicated and under restrictions of this person. And he also is saying that she did pass a competency evaluation around March of 2025. But there are people who feel that this lawsuit has nothing to do with his care for Wendy, but that it is a money grab because allegedly he isn't getting any money from Wendy because her money is locked up in this, guardianship, and that it is a money grab. Based on what you read, does it sound like a man who's allegedly wanting to do a money grab, or does it sound like a concerned ex-husband who wants to do right by his ex-wife?
Well, obviously, I have no information relating to their actual relationship, how it went. What I can say is, upon reading the complaint, it strikes me as someone who is concerned about what's happening to Wendy Williams. It also strikes me as there's been a bunch of financial allegations, elements of conspiracy, elements of fraud. Making all of these allegations, it strikes me as truly, truly serious. There's also an allegation of a violation of the marital agreement. There are constitutional due process violations. There is everything in this lawsuit that you have in excess of 15 defendants. You have people all allegedly conspiring together, judicial officers to lawyers to accountants, who apparently all are on one accord. They are all acting together for financial gain, is what the allegations are in this complaint. Right. And again, from my experience, I've never seen anything like this. And when you file this and when you read this, you just know that this plaintiff is they knew that this was going to be explosive. They know they're going to have to knuckle up. You're talking about 3 of the defendants are law firms. They're not just going to sit on their hands. You're talking about 2 judges that have been sued. They're not just going to sit on their hands. So when you make this kind of allegation that all of them are acting in concert for financial gain, these are the kind of allegations that could ruin people's careers. So you better be ready on both ends, because if the plaintiff has already thrown down the gauntlet, I'm coming. And I'm telling it all. And the things that are in this, from a doctor who allegedly evaluated her and wrote a 2-page, a 2-sentence report indicating that she was incapacitated in some way. 2 sentences is the allegation. You better be ready. And the alleged payments associated with that, it's not $200. It's not $500. The allegations are several thousands of dollars, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 for a 2-sentence report. All of this started by a bank. There's just so much going on in this lawsuit. I'm going to be following this for sure.
Here's the thing that strikes out to me, because you just hit the nail on the head. This all started from, and what most people don't realize is this started from monies from Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo felt like there was misappropriation of withdrawals of funds by members of Wendy's family, even though it was noted that she was present. They felt like she was under the influence. So when you have something like this, that Wells Fargo could have just been like, we're concerned about the transactions that are happening. How do we go from Wells Fargo making an allegation that, like you said, is really kind of unfounded? It was a suspicion and an allegation, to her losing everything and being unable to not only speak for herself. She's been on every platform, TMZ, The Breakfast Club, allocating this #FreeWendy. How do we go from Wells Fargo making an accusation to this guardianship that it has her financially and physically imprisoned?
That's the answer to that is long. When
Right.
you think that Wells Fargo was the financial advisor in this particular case, they sounded the alarm. And it's interesting because it's alleged that the financial advisor was acting in concert with the guardian and utilized the financial assets that they obtained from Wells Fargo in order to obtain the report to actually have Wendy found incapacitated. Then when you keep reading and then you learn that it is Wells Fargo that actually holds some of the mortgages to some of this property that Wendy owns, it all just begins to look, it looks interesting. It looks like the allegations are of this civil conspiracy as it's written in the complaint. And you have Wells Fargo working with Amex, working with the financial advisor, working with the guardian, working with the law firms representing the accountants. Even the judges are allegedly assisting in this with judicial orders that are further harming Wendy Williams. I mean, these allegations, again, to try to pick it apart, you're going to need hours upon hours to really ascertain what is going on in this lawsuit. You already know that some of those defendants are going to try to get this thrown out almost immediately. And if that's unsuccessful, we're going to see exactly what happens moving forward. Settlement is always a possibility. Obviously, something this explosive, it becomes, do you really want to settle? You know, this is in your business. If something like this gets out, you may never work again. Right. You know, so there's a lot at stake in this lawsuit. You know, so for both sides, you're going to have to come hard. You're going to have to come with guns ablazing in order to address these allegations, because this is explosive.
Right. And I know I'm sorry, Carlos. I know we don't have you very long. And Carlos and I are going to continue to chop this up. But I do have one question that you and I both talked about, Carlos. Is there a path forward for Wendy to retain or even have some sense of freedom?
The way this is, guardianships can be very tough. Once you get in them, and the other people are deciding your fate and deciding if you are incapacitated or actually able to handle your own affairs, you're going to need the assistance of doctors. You're going to need the assistance of lawyers. You're going to need to be able to show the world that I'm okay. And right now, Wendy doesn't have a phone, according to the allegations. She's unable to speak to her family, according to these allegations. When you're shut off from the world, there's not too many people, in my opinion, that can really handle that. That's a tough space to be in. You know, it's alleged that she's in a nursing home with no one that she interacts with. It's a tough allegation. You know, so these things can take forever to turn themselves around. She's going to need a lot of assistance, a lot of doctors to come forward, you know, to establish her mental condition. You know, she's been alleged to have dementia and several other conditions. Right. So it's going to be tough in order to find doctors, because it's just my experience with having family members that have dementia. That doesn't get better. That only tends to get worse. So I don't know how this gets overturned in a sense of her guardianship, unless all of these allegations just initially are on their face, or just and when I'm talking about these allegations right now, I'm talking about her mental, her physical condition, unless there's something that's drastically erroneous with what we have already been told. This strikes me as a really, really tough situation. And you also have to remember there was a show that aired showing when showing her in let's just say not her best light. You're going to have to deal with those representations of her that have been shown to the world. And when you look at that, can you say, if that is the best Wendy, is that individual capable of handling their own affairs? And I don't know the answer to that. But that's what people are going to be evaluating. Watching that show, for those who did see it, it's a tough watch. It's a tough watch.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Carlos.
Yeah, I was going to. I know you have to run, so I just got one last question because, again, in this lawsuit, what Wendy Williams' ex-husband Kevin Hunter wants, right? He is named as a co-plaintiff in the case. Okay, he is seeking appointment to be considered as Wendy Williams' next friend, where he can legally act on behalf of an individual unable to assert their rights when no guardian is acting in their best interest. So that's what's happening according to the lawsuit. He also is claiming that their son Kevin Hunter Jr. did not have access to his college funds while under the conservatorship. So, with all that being said, my final question for you on my end would be, based on the history of Kevin Hunter, of what we know, it is worldly known that he obviously had an affair on his wife, Wendy Williams. We know that he had an outside child on his wife while they were married. We know that they had a contentious marriage, according to Wendy, allegedly. Based on just the character that was presented to the world of Kevin Hunter Sr., and again, this is all just based on no evidence, just based on character facts from Wendy's mouth. Is it plausible that someone who did those things to her as a husband is able, in the eyes of the judge, to be considered a friend that can look out for his ex-wife's interest?
I'm going to have to say it's possible. And almost anything is possible. But when you look at this particular set of facts, when you are alleging that the guardian is in on the conspiracy, when you are alleging that the guardian is involved in a civil RICO, when the person that is supposed to be the one overwatching Wendy's affairs is part of the conspiracy, then who else is going to do it?
Right. That's a good point.
He has, in my opinion, truly stepped out. He has truly stepped out on a ledge. And when you step out on a ledge, you better have your facts. And this complaint has a bunch of exhibits attached to it, a bunch of things, to support what he's saying. And I can't tell you if it's true or not. That belongs to a trier of fact as to exactly what they're going to accept. But documents are documents. And when you begin to explore and say, is any of this actually feasible? The answer is, yeah, it's feasible. Is it true? Well, again, that'll be for a trier of fact. But when he can come back and say, we are supposed to be engaging in our marital separation agreement, and because of this guardianship, amongst other things, even that agreement is being violated. Well, who else is going to do it?
Right.
So in light of the facts as I've read them, as they've been alleged in that complaint, it becomes, you're going to have to really be confident in what you're giving to any judge, particularly in the Southern District of New York, where I have tried multiple of cases. I've been in front of several judges in the Southern District of New York. It's one of the toughest courts in the country. So
Right.
this isn't the place to present, Pinocchio type arguments. You better come with it. And in this situation, he has some facts. The allegations are, like I said, they're explosive about these things that folks were doing. From former financial advisors engaging in theft themselves. This is going to be a very tough thing to explain, and the judicial help that's also being alleged by Mr. Hunter in this complaint, I've never seen before. To
Right.
have the judges actively engaging in violations willingly, for what gain? All of this is going to come out. That's for sure. So
And because it's federal, we'll be able to follow it to the letter, correct?
unless that the filings are sealed,
Mm-hmm.
you will be able to see everything. The differences between state court and federal court is, in federal court, there are no cameras in federal court. In state court, many times you can observe trials, you can have various reporters in there filming directly, but that's not what happens in federal court. So unless all of this eventually gets sealed in federal court, which frankly I don't see happening, because there are judicial officers involved here. If a judge seals this, there's going to be, are you covering for your judge friends who are in the building right down the street from you, who you probably socialize with? This is a hot case in that regard. So you really can't shun the public from watching it.
Right.
I don't see that being something that's truly possible for this case, particularly with this amount of money that is the subject of the litigation, and you throw in a celebrity that was loved in New York City.
Right.
I just don't see how any of this is just going to be brushed under the carpet. It's going to have to be dealt with one way or another.
Right. Do you want to?
Question.
You did, and Carlos and I will talk more because you raised a good point, Carlos, and Chris, with respect to what all Kevin is putting on the line by filing this claim. It is very easy for us to assume, because of the way their marriage ended, because of those, and those weren't accusations, those were facts. He did have a baby on her that was publicly played out and humiliating for her. She did a biopic on it. So we got the sordid details of everything the torrid details of everything that happened within the confines of their marriage. What also should be noted, and I know the raindrops are going to let me have it because they swear I'm team no count men. Like they're like, you are.
They do.
Yes, they're like, you love the men that do these women wrong. I do not. I do not.
But Courtney,
they don't know you, girl.
Who has more
They're
information?
like, you're always on the men's side. No, I'm not. But I do want to point out, and you said it best, Chris, who else could do it? When you use terms like, instead of next of kin because they're divorced, and you call it now the next of friend, we've heard out of her mouth, Wendy's mouth, her niece's mouth, Charlemagne's mouth, TMZ's mouth, that this guardian is not necessarily working on Wendy's behalf. They are putting roadblocks after roadblocks after roadblocks. It is infringing on their mutual son, their blood son's future. Everyone who knows Wendy knew that she built her empire to leave to her son. Like, she built a legacy for her family. And whether we like Kevin or not, he's still her family. He's the father of her son. And they were married not for 2 years. They were married for well over what? Was it almost 2 decades? He
Yeah.
helped her build this. Whether we liked it, whether the bullying antics and tactics, whether all of the things that come from Kevin that we know to be true, he helped her establish that show. He was there for that 6-week sneak peek. He was there when she was doing radio. He was there. We don't have to like it. We don't have to love it. But for decades, they were together. And so he was along for the ride, establishing her as Wendy Williams, the household name. So if it wouldn't be him, everybody has tried, right? Like everyone has tried to help. I don't know if this Hail Mary will be successful, but almost kudos to him for saying, even if he does gain from it financially, somebody has to be the bad guy and somebody has to almost die on the sword to help her out. And I think that's the big picture that we're not talking about enough.
Let's be clear. Is there anyone on the planet that knows her better than him?
Exactly.
I mean, that's true. I mean, look, Courtney, as the kids would do, clock it. I mean, that's true. But continue, Chris. That's true.
Information that has been shared. Of course, like you said, it's family. There are things that happen. So he's going to have insight on this entire situation that no one else would have. I'm not sure there's anyone else on the planet that could have presented or even gathered the information in this complaint other than him. I just don't see it.
Right.
I mean, but he came and shots fired at 15 different people in 15 different locations. So he's going to have to now answer for it, right. in many respects. But the bottom line is facts are facts. He's going to have to establish that they're going to refute him. If the allegations hold up, they hold up. We're going to have to see exactly where this ends. But I'm sure that they're going to fight him on standing, which is, do you even have the ability to properly bring this lawsuit? That'll be the first hurdle that he's going to have to cross. Mm-hmm. And if he gets past that hurdle, these facts will need to be answered for. From a judicial perspective, when you allege improprieties on behalf of judges, they don't take that stuff kindly at all. Mm-hmm. So you better be prepared for that fight. And everything that I've read suggests he's ready for it.
Right. And in the court of public opinion, and all of those who are involved and support the Free Wendy movement, we might have found our biggest, ally amongst somebody who, for a long time, we felt was a Wendy adversary. He might just turn out to be the biggest ally to this house of cards that has come crumbling down.
That's what it's looking like right now, because what he has put in this complaint is wow. I mean, like I said, I've never seen anything like this. And when you come for this many people in this level of a conspiracy, you better be right. I just put it to you that way. You better be right, because there's too many people have their career on the line based on what is in this complaint. And he's ready to fight you over it. So This is going to be interesting to watch.
Well, thank you so much, Chris. Carlos and I are going to keep the conversation going. Right. You gave us so much with this civil RICO. Carlos, I really want to kind of get into the weeds.
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no, we will. But Chris, thank you so much, my brother, for taking time out of your busy schedule to hop on with Courtney and I, and we will see you on the next one.
Thank you, guys.
No, that was good. That was good. Because the thing is this, as you know, I've been following the Diddy trial with Ebony K. Williams, who has been such a pillar of information when it comes to educating me and the raindrops on
Yeah.
all things legal to the point where I'm like, Courtney, I want to go to law school, child. And you know, get my Kim K off so I can be called as King Esquire, the king of legal. But as of now, I'll stick to reality television. But what Chris mentioned was Rico, which obviously gave me goosebumps because it was triggering to hear that just based on me following the Diddy trial and how that is a case of racketeering, Rico, and all of those things. Break that down to us, Courtney, from the knowledge you have about why that terminology, Rico, is being used in this lawsuit that Wendy Williams' ex-husband, Kevin Hunter, has filed in the court of law.
Well, and again, this is kind of my first time hearing civil RICO. But if we look at some of the allegations, right, or some of the things that are within this these filings, one of it is fraudulent guardianship. And like Chris was saying to us, there are multiple people involved, which makes it a RICO. When you're talking about judges, when you're talking about guardians, when you're talking about conservatorships, when you're talking about former managers, all conspiring against Wendy or Wendy's estate or empire, down to doctors who are charging thousands of dollars to come up with 2-sentence recommendations and it being accepted into the courts. We're talking about Wendy's estimated value is $80 million. That is not going towards her or her family. She's living in an assisted living facility against her will. Every time Wendy has been able to speak publicly, she's been saying, I want to be free. I'm in my right mind. I want to go back to work. And judge after judge, guardian after guardian is shutting her down, putting out reports that she's incapable and incompetent of manning and managing her own life. And if you think about it like that, that is a conspiracy. Those are grounds for a civil RICO case. And just looking at some of it, like one of it that is mentioned, and it's 2 charges combined, which we've learned from the Diddy case. That's all you need to prove a RICO, and multiple people who are conspiring against you. One of the charges is fraudulent guardianship, financial exploitation. Those are some of the things within the documents in this filings that Kevin is alleging. And that is against Sabrina Morrissey, the guardian, Judge Skoloff, the financial institution, which is Wells Fargo, her former advisor, Lori Schiller. Allegedly, there is a fraudulent guardianship, financial exploitation. So that's one of the allegations within this claim. The next thing is forgery, fraudulent signatures on contracts. She's suing Lifetime and saying that she didn't sign on to do that. So there are all these people now saying if she is so incapable of making decisions, how are they making these decisions? They're signing her, they're forging her signature and saying she's agreeing to things that they're also saying she's not capable of agreeing to. So that's another claim. They're claiming elderly abuse.
And before you continue, the one thing that I do want to acknowledge is Wendy took pretty much a psych test and passed it.
Passed it, exactly. Every time we've seen Wendy publicly, She's her functioning self. She is getting people together. She's putting on her wig, her red lipstick. She is still wearing her signature panty shorts. She's rolling around happy. She's eating her good food. She is letting us know that she is, once she's free, she's capable. She has never alleged that she doesn't need to be under some care and guidance. She's saying allow her to pick who she wants to be with her, versus the courts appointing people that she herself has said are not working on her behalf.
Yes, and that's what's so interesting about all of this, because we haven't heard much from the ex-husband, Kevin Hunter Sr., throughout this whole conservatorship. And it is sort of like you and I talked about at the top of this conversation. It is the $250 million question, which is based on the fact that they were divorced, based on the fact that he has a whole new family, right? Based on the fact that he and his son, had some sort of rift that Wendy did talk about on her documentary. I do understand why a lot of people are like, okay, you're no longer able to get paid in the settlement that occurred when you and her got a divorce. You had to be removed from the show because of the divorce. He did get a settlement payment. We do know that. We do know that he was allotted a certain amount of money, I believe on a monthly basis, if I'm not mistaken. Now that the money isn't there, the lawsuit does make these allegations, but it's also asking for a large payout.
Right.
So I do understand why people are sort of confused about well, she didn't like you that much, sir, before, all of this happened. You two were not speaking at all, when this was all going on. Now we see that you want to be considered the not next of kin, but the next of friend. And again, I think a lot of people, and I do understand this from a practical standpoint, they are questioning the intention here.
Let's say, for example, his intentions are selfish. He wants to take what he deems as his portion of the empire they created. Let's say, for example, he doesn't have the best intentions. Let's allege he doesn't have the best intentions. Given the fact that it is his ex-wife, all of their marriage was not bad, but it's his ex-wife of 20 some odd years. And they have a son together, they shared a life together. Even if his intentions were fully fueled on, I need to get what was promised to me in our divorce proceedings before all this ramblings and you lost control of everything, he is still the only one. They have stripped her away from her niece. They have stripped her away from her sister. They have stripped her away. And only when they permit can she even see her 90-year-old father. She has no access to cell phones. She has no access to friends. He is, in this case, her next of kin. If anything were to happen to Wendy, what happens to her estate? So if his motives were sheerly and purely self-motivated, like, I just want to get my money and I want to free up stuff for our son, is that worse? And he's the one that can do it. He can advocate, he can fight for what he feels like is right for him on behalf of her. He's not suggesting he become her guardian. He's not suggesting that. He's suggesting if nobody else can fight, I can fight because I have legal standing. I am owed something. My son is owed something. And if we're the only people that can do it, if I'm the only person that can do it, why not? So on and this, on that alone, I'm like, no matter what we think about Kevin, there is no other lifeline for Wendy. So do you throw the baby out with the bathwater, or do you just let this man try to salvage whatever life this woman has left?
I mean, you're speaking a lot of facts with that. I mean, I never thought about that. At the end of the day, I mean, listen. At the end of the day, the next of kin is her son, their son, right? Their son together. If something, God forbid, something happens to her, that money, that $80 million alleged, net worth that may be liquid or assets or what have you, the fact that at the end of the day, that money is going to go someplace. So what Kevin is doing, you make a lot of sense, is how about I protect the money that, listen, the money, legal is legal.
Owed to him.
Yeah, there's a legal documentation.
Right. So if he's saying, hey, okay, I don't like what you guys are doing to my ex-wife.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want, we've all had an ex, right? Like we've all had an ex. Does it make it right? Does it make it right, Carlos? Do you hate your ex? Even if you're not on speaking terms, you wouldn't want your ex.
No. I'm teasing. No, I'm teasing. Oh, no.
Ex in bondage, in jail, in prison, by a system that is clearly not working for them. So, like I said, he's not the superhero I would want. But she doesn't have any other superheroes. Who does she have that is going to fight on her behalf? Everybody has tried. TMZ Harvey has tried. Charlemagne is trying. People are doing what they were doing. But if we can recall, one of the things that Wendy did to get Britney Spears out of her conservatorship was she literally showcased and provided a platform for, and literally took up the mantle of Free Britney from her father. We're literally have to look at it from the perspective of, and again, I did not think I would say this. I have been in rooms, I have been in done deals with both Kevin and Wendy, and the marital infractions are, yes, substantial, unfounded. I mean, totally founded. And it was hurtful. I was there when Wendy and when that crumbled. We did a comedy special called For the Record when Wendy was going through her divorce. I saw the hurt. I saw the breakdown. I saw the crumble. I saw the transfer over from Kevin leaving the show, initiating those deals, to working with Bernie Young, whom I adore. When you get to be the mogul that she was, and I've said all that to say I've been in those rooms and I saw sincerity. I saw actuality. I saw Kevin doing what Kevin should have done, managing, negotiating. Again, there was a kind of bruteness about it, but he literally wanted what was going to be best for them, not just her and not just him, for them. He kept that show afloat. So we can feel how we want to feel, but that empire, Wendy's empire, and that her show and her biggest portion of her celebrity happened as a unit. And now, even if he feels like I'm owed something and I don't want to see her go out like this, is that wrong? And I'm curious to know about these comments, because I'll be reading and I'll be responding.
Courtney reads the comments, child.
When I respond, listen, I'm here for it. I told you, Carlos.
Yes.
Somebody was like, she's a pick-me. I was like, oh, I've been called a lot of things. Never that. Never that. But I, in all actuality, I'm like, what does she do? What does Wendy do? And he is at this point a good ally for her. She can say, I don't have nothing to do with this, but a part of me feels like she's, twiddling her thumb saying, gosh, I hope this works.
Yeah.
Out of this conservatorship. And if he is the likely person that can kick up enough dust to make it happen, then kudos to him.
I mean, drop the mic or the gavel, child, because Courtney just did a slam dunk with that. You have really even changed my thought process and how I look at this now, because now I'm like, well, based on that, I think, listen, my brother, do what you have to do to protect your family. And listen, your assets too, because at the end of the day, it's sort of like what Ebony said to me, Courtney, when we were discussing Diddy's trial, where the defense had a 10-minute argument and then rested their case. And Ebony sort of did like what she would do if she was on the prosecution team speaking in the closing arguments. And Ebony said she would say, hello, jury, ... or jurors. She said, was Diddy a bad person? Okay. Was he this or that? Sure. Okay. Would you go out to dinner with him? Maybe not. But was he this? No. And I'm sorry, guys. If she was a part of the defense, not prosecution, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
She said if she was a part of Diddy's defense legal team, she would say as his attorney, was he a bad person? Sure. Was he this, that? Sure. But what you cannot say is he's guilty of this, because at the end of the day, the prosecution did a horrible job of proving it. And it really made me think too that you could be guilty in the court of public opinion.
Yep.
That doesn't send you to jail, right? It's all about, again, the legal aspect of our country is you are innocent until proven guilty. And that's the thing that a lot of people are missing. You are innocent until proven guilty. And it's the prosecution's job.
Right.
Yeah. It's the prosecution's job to prove without a shadow of a doubt that you are guilty of these crimes. So what you're saying about Kevin Hunter Sr. is sort of like, sure, do you not like the man for being a cheater? Okay. Do you not like the man for having an outside baby on his wife? Understood. But at the end of the day, he was awarded a certain amount of money. A deal was made, and rightfully so, he should get it.
Right. On that alone. If that is all this is, but mind you, he's alleging things that we have seen to be true. We have seen and heard from Wendy's own mouth, she doesn't want to be in a senior citizen facility. She is isolated and alone, and it's driving her mad.
Yeah.
We've seen and we've heard that. My heart breaks for that. If we've seen and we've heard that, then what are we doing? He's not necessarily. That's what we've heard and seen from him. I mean, from her. If we see and hear that she has no access to the outside world, she can't even tell her truth. She screamed it from every platform that she could sneak and get to. If she's saying, I'm being held against my will and I have to ask permission to spend my money that I've earned and made, I have no contact with my family. I have no contact with my son. I have no contact with my niece. I cannot talk to my friends. I am not free and clear to go as I please. I'm getting outside doctors to say I'm incompetent. I am very capable. I don't have frontal lobe dementia. Like, I don't have these things and I'm saying it. I'm not suggesting she does it suffer from addiction. I'm not saying she doesn't suffer from illnesses. I'm not saying she doesn't have problems, but she is saying, I'm not this. And he too is saying, once upon a time, that was my wife of many years. I still love and respect her, whether we view it as toxic love and disrespect. He still views her as family and does not want this for her.
Courtney Parker, you cooked again. Is there anything else you want to say before we end this episode? Because I feel like this obviously would be ongoing, and this is just the tip of the iceberg.
And we have been, both Carlos and I have been in contact with parties representing this case that are closely related to this case. And much like Chris, this is a financial civil RICO charges. And I'm just so glad that we're able to provide that you're on it in terms of picking the honorable kind of hot topics that Wendy herself would love. It's so funny.
We love you, Wendy. We miss you. Yeah.
That she has become an ultimate hot topic. But, you know, I'm interested to hear from your raindrops on the perspective that they take, that they take.
And you will.
And then I'm also just I think we should follow this closely and extend our efforts in the Free Wendy campaign to just let her get back to her life. This is sad. This is really sad for anyone. Yeah.
And Raindrops, reality crime stories will continue to follow this case as more things unfold. Courtney Parker, thank you so much again for us doing this every week. We love how you guys have taken such a huge liking to this edition of the podcast. And Courtney and I are going to give you guys way more conversations. And next week, we have a very interesting story we're going to talk about from the Housewives land that is intersected with sports.
It's juicy, guys.
It's juicy, and you do not want to miss it. So thank you, guys. And Courtney, please, again, let them know where they can follow you and find you on social media.
I'm on social media as CP Star Writer on Facebook, Instagram, and newly TikTok. And I say newly TikTok, rolling my eyes.
TikTok.
Look, I just got on. I'm a newbie. But thank you for all the support. Thank you, Raindrops, for all the comments. I'm reading, I'm watching, and I'm taking notes.
Yes. Love you, Courtney. I'll see you next week, love.
All right.